If you haven't grown tomatillos before, I think they're from the Deadly Nightshade family, but I'm not 100%, so I better just check that. But when you're growing them, you need at least 3 plants to cross-pollinate each other. And they're great. They're from Mexico, so they do like heat. I've grown them outside successfully every year, and I've grown them for the past 3 years. And they're great for things like salsa, to use in sauces, guacamole, and things like that. But I'm sure that you can find many uses for them. They're sort of a slight sharp taste, but not too sharp. They're not bitter. They're, as I said, they're from Mexico. They originate theoretically, I think, from the Aztecs. But they're good fun, and they're a bit like a physalis, that they grow in a paper lantern. And you often know when they're ripe because they just drop onto the floor and you can just pick them up off the floor. Or if they get really big, I'm sure that you can just pick them off, which is what we've done in the past as well. But they're really ripe when they actually drop on the floor, a bit like physalis do. So I'm going to sow some of these in this pot. The seed is very small. It's very much like a physalis seed. So I've watered the pot and I've got some vermiculite, which I'll just pop onto the top of here. So I'll show you this. I know that probably a few of the other plot holders might want some. The seeds, as I said, are very, very small. Let me just show you. And as it was a freebie, I think it was a freebie. Yep. You don't get very many seeds. I don't know how many you'd get. I don't know if you could see that. I don't know how many you get if you actually buy them, but there's about 10 seeds in here, so I might as well use the whole lot. And I'll just pop these in here. Spread them out. It's not very spread out, is it? Just use the corner of this just to move them a little bit, give them some room as they're germinating. And makes it easier also when you're pricking them out that you're not tangled up with other plants, so less root disturbance. So I'll do that. And then a little sprinkle of the vermiculite. And I shall just write a label and pop that onto the windowsill until they germinate and then prick them up. I was in the Chinese supermarket recently and picked up something called an endo or taro or something like that, but I'll check. I thought, this looks interesting. I'll take it home and see if I can grow it. So I bought 2. One didn't do anything, but this one has grown a shoot and a leaf. It's looking really healthy, and it's got another bud coming up. And I just had a little look underneath at the roots all coming through, so I think it needs to go into something a tiny bit bigger. But as it's a tropical plant, I know that it needs to be outside in the summer and more in the heat. And I think that it's just far too cold at the moment. But what I shall do is I'll pot it up and see what happens. I don't know what I'm going to do really, because I don't even know how big it's going to grow. But I'm sure that I can find something to pop it into. So that's my taro. I thought I'd just show you how I plant up my cucumbers in the greenhouse. And this is a variety called Piccolino. That's an all-female cucumber, and it's the small ones, the sort of mini cucumbers. And I grow a couple of cucumbers here in my greenhouse. And I have these strings. It's a wooden frame greenhouse. So there's some hooks I'll show you in a bit up the top. And I make a nice deepish hole in here. And the string I pop into the hole. I'm just going to put this down for a minute because I want to make the hole a bit bigger. And plant it so that the string is fairly taut, but not too tight because you're going to grow the cucumber up it. So here's the cucumber, and I'll just take that out of its little, see, it's got some really nice roots. And I make these plastic collars just from a drinks bottle, and I slide that in here, and I slide the cucumber in there like this, and then I press it down fairly firmly around this. Now the reason for these collars is because cucumbers are really sensitive to rot, and if this is damp and it sits against the stems, it will rot them off. So I put these collars on so that when people water, because I sometimes go away and other people water for me, I'll know that they won't sit in moisture. And once this is settled down, I'm going to put a mulch over the top of these pots as well. But these collars then just protect the stems. And then the strings, you just gently wrap them around like this. And then as they grow, you just twiddle them around the string. And that's it. They do tend to get some mildew, so ventilating the greenhouse is important, but sometimes you just can't help that, and I will grow some more cucumbers later in the year to replace them if they get too mildewy or problematic. But that's all you need to do, and I shall give this a good water and plant up the last one, and I hope that you've enjoyed watching me plant the cucumbers. So that's the 3 cucumbers planted. I've got a few more left, and as I said, this is a wooden frame greenhouse, so I've put some hooks right at the very top and tied the strings up there. They get right up there plus. Sometimes I have to put some strings across the tops once all of these tomatoes have gone, which there are many. This is the greenhouse, it's absolutely full, and one of my next tasks will be potting up all of these tomatoes. They're not all for me, many are for other plot holders, neighbours and various people who have asked me to grow some tomatoes for them. But I can't wait to get them out because I've got a backlog of things for the greenhouse now. The other thing I didn't say is that I grow this in 7.5 litre pots, and I make a mix of John Innes number 2, I think, John Innes number 2 and ordinary potting compost. So that's a mixture in there, but I feed it throughout the year. And as I said, a little later on, I shall put a mulch on the top, A, to stop it splashing, any splashes, and B, just to keep the moisture in the pots dry, because as the summer comes, everything in here gets very hot and very dry. So we've had 2.5, if not 3 nights of frost, and I covered up as much as I could, because although these plants are frost tolerant, sometimes some of the nights we're getting down to -3, and with the wind chill on top. But I can see that there is some damage. I'll show you when I've taken all the covers off. and over here as well, where we planted some of the onions and things. So we're going to take all of this off, give it a good drink, and these peas don't look too bad. They've been protected by this bit of glass. So yeah, give everything a good drink. So I'm about 2 if not 3 weeks behind with a lot of my planting and stuff. So it's going to be a very big planting day today. And again, these crops are cold tolerant, and the weather forecast looks like it's picking up, so we're not due any. We've got a few cold nights, but that'll be fine, but we're not due any really hard frosts. So I'll come back to you once I've taken some covers off and had a look at what's going on underneath. The lettuces have done well. No frost damage on any of these. And the spring onions. Whether or not I cover them up again, I'm not sure yet. Just to bring them on a bit. So they've done really, really well. I'm very pleased that they've survived. So I shall give them a good water. Yeah, look at this. The spinach have done really well too. These are good frost hardy plants. And they're almost, won't be long before we can give this a pick. Just a light picking to add to salads. The onions and the interplanted lettuces are also looking good. I did sow some radishes as well. I've got a couple that are coming up, but not as many as I planted, and that's possibly because it may be a bit dry. So a good watering and it may help some of the others pop up. But yeah, the tips of the onions are a little bit bent over and a little bit brown, but they'll recover now. The weather's going to be good. So there's a few little weeds in here, so I'll get those out, give this a good water, and hopefully these will pick up. But the peas have definitely suffered a little with some of the, and this is a cold hardy pea as well, but as I said, the winds and the cold have been really bad, so some of this could be wind damage as much as it's frost. But they're still green. We'll give them a good water, we will leave them in and see how they do. Hopefully they'll pick up. If not, we'll resow. So a few of the strawberries have started to flower, and you can see that they've got a black centre or a black eye to them. Let me see if I can find this other one. Where have you gone? There you are. A black centre like that. That means the frost has got to them, and you need to pick these flowers off because they won't come to anything. And if you pick them off, then the other ones will come through. Now this is supposed to be a later fruiting strawberry, so I'm a bit disappointed that they've started to come into flower. But if I see some frost coming, I'm going to have to come down and fleece them, because like last year we lost most of our strawberry crop because of the late May frost. So happy gardening everybody. If you've enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing, it's free. And next to the subscribe button is a little bell. Press on the bell and select all, and that will notify you of any future videos that I do. Any comments or questions, put in the box below, and I hope you join me for the next round of planting and growing on our allotment. Until then, happy gardening everybody. Bye.